them as well, that the Prophet ﷺ passed by 3 caravans of the Quraysh that he recognized. When he came back to Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ went back to sleep, he said, and he woke up in the Haram. And this clearly shows therefore that the actual Isra took place from the Haram itself to Baytul Maqdis and then back to the Haram. So the Prophet ﷺ said, when I woke up the next morning, I felt an anxiety about how am I going to tell the people of what happened to me, and what will they say, and they are going to reject me. And as I was sitting anxious and nervous and worried, he's sitting in front of the Kaaba, the enemy of Allah, Abu Jahl, passed by me and he saw me in that state. And so Abu Jahl said to him in a sarcastic manner, what is the matter with you? Why, has anything happened? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes, something happened. So Abu Jahl said, what? So the Prophet ﷺ said, yesterday, last night, I was taken from here to Jerusalem. So Abu Jahl was shocked and he said, and you are now here amongst us? You're now waking up amongst us? And so the Prophet himself said, he didn't know whether to make fun of me then or to wait so that I would not retract when he called the other people. The Prophet said, yes, I'm waking up amongst you here. So Abu Jahl said, if I call your people, meaning the Quraysh, will you tell them what you have just told me? And so the Prophet said, yes, I will. And so Abu Jahl began screaming out to the people, Hayya ma'shara Bani Ka'b ibn Lu'ay, which is the great-grandfather of the Quraysh. Come forth, we have an announcement to make. And so the people came slowly from the places of Mecca. And so Abu Jahl says, tell them what you promised you would tell them. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, last night I went to Bayt al-Maqdis and I went to pray in the Masjid al-Aqsa, the Bayt al-Maqdis. So the people began reacting in different ways. Some of them began musaffiq, just like clapping, like in what is going on here. Others put their hands on their heads, not knowing what to do. And others began snickering and laughing, until one of them said, and he had been there to Bayt al-Maqdis, can you describe it for us? Because everybody knew that the Prophet had never been to Bayt al-Maqdis, right? And so the Prophet said, I began describing the Bayt al-Maqdis until they began to ask me about specifics that I wasn't able to recall. I got confused and I became so worried and anxious that I wasn't able to answer, that I had never been so worried before. And he said, as I was waiting for what to respond, I saw in the distance Baytul Maqdis rising up in front of me, until I saw it descending beyond the house of Aqil ibn Abi Talib. And this is the house that he grew up in, because Abu Talib had died and Aqil is now living in it, right? The house that he grew up in, not the house he's currently living in, that's Khadija's house. And no question they asked of me, except that I saw the Baytul Maqdis, right, basically being shown to me, and I looked at them and I answered every question that they had, until finally one of them said, as for the descriptions of Baytul Maqdis, then of Jerusalem, then he is accurate. The Prophet ﷺ said, and Ibn Hisham mentions this, I will give you some signs as well. And he mentioned the 3 caravans. He mentioned the first caravan is of so-and-so, and they will be returning soon because they were the closest to the city. The second caravan is so-and-so, and they had lost a camel, and you can ask them about that camel, they were searching for it. The third caravan is such and such, and they had this urn of water that I drank from. Abu Jahl said, if you saw them at such and such a place, the caravan should be coming right now, because it was very close to Mecca. And while they're discussing, the news arrives that the caravan is entering Mecca. And so Abu Jahl goes and sees, and it is exactly as the Prophet described, and he comes back and saying, this is clear sorcery. And of course it was at this time when one of the Quraysh came running to Abu Bakr and said, do you know what your companion has just said? Said what? He said, your companion claims to have gone all the way to Jerusalem, which is a month's journey, and back, which is another month's journey, and he did all of this in one night. Abu Bakr said, if he said that, then it must be true. So the man said to him, do you believe him in such a claim? And so Abu Bakr said, I believe him in something that is even more amazing than this. He claims that the revelation from above the 7 heavens comes to him instantaneously. Which is more amazing? Just to go to Jerusalem and come back, or that Allah is communicating with him instantaneously? And so because of this, Abu Bakr was called As-Siddiq. If you think